The demonstration I'm giving is the bottom of a bottle. You want to make sure that if you have a sphere at the bottom of your bottle, that you have it, you have that sphere drawn in, and then just like this, without really outlining it, you have an ellipse that has a line of symmetry there, and then we're just taking our dark green, making this bottom area dark, and drawing in our highlights with our step 2. Unless you have a white bottle, then chances are the bottom has a little step 1 in it. But if you have a green bottle, I wouldn't do it in bright white. I don't think it's going to be bright white for your first layer. I think it's going to be yellow. Next, you're going to take your step 3 and kind of go around, create like a halo around those that step, like this. As you get to your darker colors, your directional lines are important. So watch this. Watch how I color in the bottom of this bottle. It's curved. So we're doing the inside first. And look at how lightly I'm coloring it, too. Directional lines are important. These directional lines are what makes us, kind of like helps us show that it's actually inside the bottle. Next step, I'm going to add in my black. Here's my black. And I'm not worried about what's reflecting on the face of the bottle yet. I'm doing the inside.
What if we don't have a lot of those spots in the bottom of the wine bottle? Like it's mostly just black.
Maybe you don't. The question is, what if you don't have a spotlight above you and you don't see those bright reflections?
No, I mean I do, but there's just like not a lot of them.
Oh, it's okay. If there's 2, or I'm not going to count the number of reflections you have. Let me show you an example. This bottle was drawn in the center of the classroom, okay? And it is a very good example. So like right where Chris is, or in the other class where James is, Alvarez. There is still highlights and reflections. So when I'm assessing, what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll count your value steps. You know, on the rubric, when we reviewed the rubric, it said there's going to be 5. So I will go through and just make sure that you have 5 value steps. It doesn't matter how much you're showing each of those value steps. You should have some on the top, on the shoulder, on the base, maybe a little bit on the neck, and that's it. I don't count where those areas are. That's just how you make it believable. I know in the video there's a glare on this, so sorry about that. When I turn it a little bit, it doesn't look symmetrical because I have my page turned, but you can actually, the camera isn't reflective. So this student still received an A for their drawing, even though it's a dark bottle. Plus, who's to say that your bottle isn't really dark, like Steven's bottle? See how dark that is? He's going to have probably no step 2s on the inside bottom of his bottle. It's going to be really dark, but on the shoulder of his bottle, I'm still going to look for those step 1s, because we still see reflections. Okay? Okay. So let's move forward. So now with the circular, following my contour lines this way, go back to what you learned when we learned about cylinders and sort of, you know, following the directional line of a surface. And see how it's starting to look like that form of the bottom of the bottle? And then I can start layering greens on top of my black and start blending it a little bit. Unfortunately, my drawing isn't really coming out as good as yesterday's demo because someone borrowed and forgot to return my pencil sharpener. So here, pretty good. And this is just a third layer of what I already did. So this is like the second layer, and then I put a third layer of those colors. Okay. I'm going to go back to this demo because it's a little further along, and what I want to do at this point is I'm going to start showing the surface reflections. So the directional lines change to therefore show that it's a curved surface instead of this like kind of inside pyramid, right? So I showed a reflection on the outside of my bottle. And it's kind of cool because pretend this is the reflection of your tabletop. See how it actually looks like it's on the outside surface of the bottle? It's kind of cool. And then when I take my white and follow my new cylindrical directional lines, I get to create the illusion that there's like a curve going this way. Okay? Somebody asked about the label. So the label of the bottle, how do we handle it? You can do anything you want with the label. Okay? I have a label drawn here on this demo, and instead of just making it look flat, what you're going to want to do is put a value range on it. So if you take a look at your cast shadow, you have an idea of where the dark side of your label should be and the light side of your label. And then what you can do is basically just pencil shade, okay? In this case, my cast shadow is going in this direction from my point of view of my bottle. So it would make sense.
Bless you. Bless you.
If this side of my label was shaded a little bit darker. Now, some people have a lot of fun with the label. You might want to wait until the end and see if you have time. They put, you know, their parents' names on the bottle and then give it to them as a gift, or they put a beach scene on the bottle and on the bottle label, and you know, it ends up hanging in their shore home or something. You can do whatever you want. The label is a good opportunity for you to take what is your basically a technical assignment without a lot of creativity, and add creativity to it. Is it okay? So just for some interest, on the darker side of my label, I'm adding some green, some black. What's that?
Can I have a red color pencil, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have 2 reds now? Or 3?
I just have, well, I have terracotta,
3.
one red, and then blood red.
Here it is. Here's a red. It's not a bright red, but it'll be good for your shadow.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, what do I do with the inside of my label? This little triangle, can everyone identify like the inside of your label? That's going to be your color, a dark color of your bottle color. So, in my case, it's dark green and black. So if you have a dark green bottle, you could just go ahead and color that in, blend it back and forth, dark green and black. And if there's any reflections on it, you can do that after. It should definitely be darker than the outside of your label. Okay? To continue adding interest to my label, I'm just going to blend in with my kind of boring white label some yellow on the side that gets that's kind of light. And use my white to really blend it and try to make it look like paper. Like I said, you can do whatever you want to your label.
I think I would like another paper just so I can try it because I'd like to mess up on
Sure you do.
Sure, hold on. Can you
Sure.
Okay, so that is, I decided to make some crosshatch lines, or some hatching lines on my label to just give it a little paper texture. And my label, at this point, it can be considered done. I might even want to go over it with a totally different color because I think, I wanted it to look somewhat like it fits in with my bottle, but I think now, just to make it look a little different, I'm going to add some pink. Layering is important. It should be given as much attention to the other parts of your bottle, although as far as layering, but not as far as reflections and all that stuff, because it's flat paper. So it's not going to have reflections on the outside of that label, right? It's just flat. Just flat paper. Okay. Okay, and that's it for the bottom and the label.